Hey, this is Corey, and you're listening to The Read, a Substack on a different kind of podcast company. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm posting a little bit late, I guess, based on my own arbitrary publishing schedule. Not because it's summer, but because I was in Costa Rica for the last 3 weeks. I've been living there part-time since 2006, so I'm still adjusting to what it's like to try and put stuff in my bag, go to a different country, and create content at the same time. So I guess that's an apology. Regardless, I didn't this particular week let the robots write my title, but I probably will for the show notes, so I apologize for that. This is on how at Podfly we work differently. It's a minimalist approach to podcast production. First principles thinking. We founded Podfly in 2013 on what I've come to learn as first principles thinking. This method has been continuously employed, not out of conscious decision, but rather simple ignorance of established practices. What if we were able to work from anywhere? Do people really need to show up at 9 a.m.? Why do we need an office in the first place? Why do we ask to get the best out of people rather than create a work environment where people want to be their best? Shouldn't differentness be celebrated? Look, these were really, really unpopular questions with our corporate clients pre-pandemic. Despite the logic being so clear then, we found ourselves explaining how we work differently as much as we did doing the actual work. We didn't mind much. It meant that we were onto something. We zero base everything. Though we have over a decade of experience in podcasting, we have zero experience in making your podcast. That's our secret weapon. We approach everything with a beginner's mind and leave our egos and assumptions at the door. But this is not to say that we don't employ best practices and efficiencies in our production process. That would be absurd. However, we might not start with the assumption that standard practices are the best practices and that how things have been done is how we should do this. For example, I've never understood how telling an interesting story into a microphone on the internet involves so many people. You know, the credit roll of 15 or 20 people at the end of a podcast, almost bragging about how many bright and talented interns it took to make this for you. As a member of the Public Media Journalists Association, I grant the need for quality fact-checking, research, and oversight on a network of shows that are of consequence in public discourse or have financial implications with the advertisers that mean keeping good humans in their paying jobs. Yet, in those settings, we still see a trend of small, focused teams of 2 or 3 people consistently making shows of extremely high quality. I think often of the bedroom music producer with a laptop and a great idea who reaches millions of fans. When I think about what it takes to make something at the highest level in music, I see Phineas and Billy holding armfuls of Grammys. Look, we co-produce a program with HarperCollins called Remember Reading. This is a podcast in which authors talk about children's books they remember reading and how they influence them as writers today. It's the client's concept, as many of these productions are. They pick the book, they book the guest. We provide all the pre- and post-production, scripting, sound design, editing, etc. Frankly, it sounds like it's been made by a staff of 10. And guess how many people work on it? 3. And only 2 are from Podfly. Quality sounds expensive, but we don't think it has to be expensive. Budget first, proposal second. You're going to hear me talk about this a lot over the next couple of weeks because I kind of can't get it out of my head. Negotiating and landing new clients feels like many steps and emails and meetings, I'm tempted to say, you're busy and I'm busy. Let's cut to the chase. I mean to say, you and I both have better uses for our time than some performative back and forth. That honesty is how we set the table for our collaboration. How much your company is prepared to spend traditionally defines the level of quality that one can produce. Let me propose that we don't postpone that conversation until an eventual slide deck / proposal or inscrutable estimate. I suggest we start with how much your company is looking to spend, and we'll propose some production options within that budget. We're going to get there eventually anyway, so why not just start there? We can come back with a proposal on or under budget and consider how to make the most capital efficient production at the highest quality. This is the way that we make a show that sounds 95% as good at 50% of the cost. Frankly, the only people who know the 5% difference are a handful of top podcast producers. Not your boss, not your audience. We build small, focused teams to tackle big ideas. Having a budget in place, we call up the Avengers, right? Each show starts with the same superheroes: creative, accounts, and technical. That's it. There's not going to be 15 people show up in a Zoom meeting every Monday morning. Our mission is to make the most of the least. Our desire to create the highest quality podcasts while maximizing resources is simply second nature to us. Why? Every superhero has a backstory of how someone somewhere hurt or broke them. Our team's origin stories start with having come up in bureaucratic media companies on overstaffed, bloated productions created by a committee. It's expensive and it's slow moving. And the end product is often a watered-down, vanilla-flavored show that appeals to no one. What some see as another day making content, talented dreamers see as soul-crushing work that they're not proud of. As a small team, we think differently. Fewer people benefit beyond staffing costs. The show is focused and edgy and straightforward. We know very early what the show is, and more importantly, what it's not. The boat turns quickly, and agile minds turn around executive notes and revisions in days, not weeks. We've learned that once we set up a production workflow and process, it's time to retreat to our workspaces and delegate the day-to-day peacekeeping to one or two of our company's finest. This approach is fun, fast, and most importantly, sustainable. Backfill production. We have innovated a cost-cutting production technique that we call backfill production. To explain, let's start with how a typical narrative show might be produced. An episode is outlined, a script is drafted, edited, and approved. Guests are often booked, pre-interviewed, and then recorded. Transcripts are made, added to the script, edited, and approved. Then the narration is recorded and the sound design and music cues are written into the script. The script is then revised, and upon final edits and approvals, it's locked. The final script is ready for editing, music, and sound post-production, but we're not done. That first pass of the audio will go back up the chain for all the edits and notes and revisions and approvals before we have a final cut. Oh, does it sound like making a movie or a TV show? Well, it is. That's where this process that companies use came from. However, your company is not a TV or film studio. Your host and guests are not actors and cast members. They're executives. And that's why these branded podcasts often only see one season. There's a better way. We start with a one-sheet outline. What's the episode's conceit? And who will we talk to? We bulleted out our prep questions and booked the guest. An engineer and producer and writer and client join the recording session, so we're all there. We get what we call in the business good tape. for 30 or 45 minutes. From there, we at Podfly will backfill the narrative portions and have the host record them, either with us or asynchronously at their convenience. It's pretty cool. They can just jump on whenever they want and record their narration. Finally, the producer and the writer take a pass at the script and sound, and voila, we hand you back a polished, professional audio file that sounds like it took a month to make in a matter of days. The executives love this. They're in and out. The clients love this. They can get back to their actual jobs. We love this. We will improve your show over many seasons because the creative lift is balanced. The team stays intact and their pay is competitive. We work differently. Look, for me, it's fun to be a contrarian, okay? However, it's important to be disruptive and only agitate processes within your own company rather than making it part of some experimental client relationship. But when it works, it really works. Further, it's really fun when you also happen to be right. I could go on about this all day if you can't tell. We're obsessed with this stuff. It doesn't mean you have to be, but we really are. The Japanese have a concept called Kaizen. Make minor, continuous improvements. It's a philosophy that runs deep in our company and informs how we work. Kind, clear, minimal, sustainable. Hey, thanks again for the hang. I super appreciate it. It's really cool that people are reading this and listening to it. I shouldn't sound surprised because I'm in the content creation space, but here I am surprised every time I put something out in the world, and people seem to care about it. If you like this kind of stuff, we write about it as well at podfly.net/insights. Catch you on the next one.